Right, there we go. Things should be working now. Just do that. There we go. Nice. That. Right. Hopefully this works. Minimize that. There we go.
Hey Spotifyers, click or tap the banner to listen to Feel Good Friday. Uplifting anthems to power you through till the weekend. Brought to you by your friends at Pure Gym. There's feeling good and there's feeling Pure Gym good.
We're doing it on Twitch, not Twitch. Kick. I don't want to put that vote on the stick. There we go. Turn that off. Right. There we go. What was I doing? What was I doing? I had quite no idea, but I can't even remember. Very adamant like that. That's a little too low. Okay. Preferences. Let's do 3. I see your message. Give me 1 second. Just adjusting the bitrate. Where's it gone? There we go. I hope that fixes up. I am not 34. But hello. Calcro. I am not 34. In fact, I'm younger than that. Right. So, the things I want to talk about today are you're heading the right way. I don't really publicise my age, but you're heading the right way. The funny part is, even if you get my age right, there's a likely chance I won't say you're correct. But you headed the right way. Right, I've just gone blank. Calcro, so I'm just trying to work out why I just had in my mind. I've just woke up, so I kind of like blank. Right. You're correct. I am over 20. I don't know where you got 34 from. Very random number. I'm just trying to work out what the hell I'm trying to do. I had ideas. I'm just trying to remember what I was trying to do, so please bear with me. Like I said, I won't be revealing my actual age. Not yet, anyway. But I'm 1 year older than I was last year. I'm just trying to work out what I was trying to do. I spoke about it yesterday. Oh yeah, there's something to do with the finance, business planning and stuff like that countries could use. Just a side note, this is not a political stream at all. Like, I do not aim to make it political. My aim is to provide my own viewpoints on the way. There we go. On the way I see things and what I think theoretically should happen. Now, everyone's gonna have their own viewpoints, disagree or agree, whichever. But it's just, obviously everyone's gonna have their own aspects. But I was looking at things recently, and the one thing I noticed is people don't look at the way everyone works. So everyone is trying to save money, which at the moment, wherever you are, there's a chance your country is in debt, significant debt. Now, I'm in the UK, not specifying where, but I'm in the UK, and for us, we are 2.8, 2.6, between 2.6 and 2.9 trillion pounds in debt. But the problem which every country faces is because we can't agree on what to cut back and what to spend, because some people say we should cut back on one department but increase on others. Recently, I found out that a number of police departments, sorry, checking the music. number of the police departments in the UK are either cutting back or increasing, and the ones that are decreasing are having issues with law enforcement generally. The one thing I noticed was, because we're cutting back on one aspect, why do we need to increase in other places? The solution I think of is, if you're going to want to save money, cut back in regards to inflation, which is the simple way of putting that is, there's inflation is, how do I put this for understanding purposes? If you have a chocolate bar that's worth, in 2015 it's 50 pence, over the years the cost goes up, so that leads to the cost of the chocolate bar in 2026 being like £1.20, £1.50, because in my aspect of the understanding of it, the cost of inflation is measured by borrowing and debts, as well as bonds and other government ways of control on the finances. So when it comes down to borrowing increasing interest rates, which increases, as many people call it these days, the cost of living. And the cost of living status has been around since roughly 2018, 2019. Before that, no one really mentioned the word cost of living crisis. Again, that reflects based on the global event, which I'm not going to state actively, between 2019 and 2020. When was it now? 2022, I think, or 23. So about 4 years ish. 19, 20, 21, 22. So yeah, 3 or 4 years. I'll try to work out the mathematics off the top of my head. So borrowing went up. Now, if I do UK national debt without leaking too much, so I'm going to use a BBC, which is the first link. I'll change the scene so you can actually see it. So this is December 2025, which was, again, a couple of weeks ago. The UK government generally spends more than it raises in taxes. In terms of the understanding of that, if the government is spending £1 trillion a year, just as a simplistic figure, we are borrowing we spend 1.1 trillion. So we spend 0.1 of a trillion more than what the taxes bring in, which basically brings the inflation aspect up. So let's say it was on 3%, you go 3.2% or 3.3%, depending on the Bank of England's assessment from the Andrew Bailey and his team. Andrew Bailey being the one in charge of the Bank of England situation. The chief, I think is the chief regarding ranks. But he basically states why the government borrowed. And it'll tell you all here. The government gets most of its income from taxes. For example, workers pay income and national insurance for every paying VAT, value-added tax, on certain goods, and companies pay tax on profits. It could in theory, cover all of its expenses from taxes and sometimes spending. No, sometimes happens. Yeah, read that wrong. But if it can't, the government covers the gap by raising taxes, cutting spending, and borrowing money. Cutting taxes, raising taxes is, in a general economic sense, good and bad. Raising taxes basically means, in simplistic terms, overall everyone pays more to the government. Let's say you're paying £5 to the government, right? Rather than that you pay six plus, you say £6, £7, £8, whatever it is, more. Now, in the reason I agree in aspect of tax rises, this is literally the only reason, is if we don't do tax rises, then we have to do cutting spending. But cutting spending is more harder because of disagreements. It's easy to do tax rises because it's implemented based on the simplicity of rules and economic issues. Cutting spending is like saying this department gets less money, and when the department gets less money, the situation basically means that because the department's earning less money, services are underfunded, and basically the systems are stretched. Now the reason it's bad for spending cuts is just down to the fact that in times of inflation, if you put £44 trillion in the system for each department, let's say you earn 1 year, the government earned 1 year without raising taxes 44 trillion, the year after, the chances of that 44 trillion being equivalent from the previous year is next to nothing. And the reason for that is down to, in simplistic terms, it's down to borrowing and other forms of spending. Now, the form of borrowing is if, again, you set 44 trillion for all the departments as just as a general figure. Because of inflation, if you kept it at 44 trillion, or the figure from the previous year, let's say it was 2025 for 44 trillion, this year it could be 45 to 50 trillion. Now, if we aren't increasing government income, the only other way of doing it, if we're not going to cut, is by borrowing. But borrowing causes an issue of inflation and other financial issues. The only thing any government in any country can do to prevent the issue of like increasing financing costs every year. One, immediately either cease operations on the borrowing aspect, and if you're borrow the smallest amount you possibly can, no matter what country it is. Borrowing is good in some aspects as long as it can be paid back. If you can pay, let's say you have a maximum of 1 billion, you go, look, I'm not borrowing more than 1 billion a year. Again, you're still going to put money back into the debt to finance it off, to get rid of it. But in general, if you stop borrowing and you need more, you have to raise taxes, or you cut the department spending. Cutting department spending, which means obviously the aspect of cutting the spending for the departments is you have less money for each department. However, a lot of the issues that I've read through research, I'm going to go on the UK aspect of it, just based on what I know. The UK versus other countries. I'm guessing Japan and other countries that build structures quite quickly. The research I've seen is we are, as the UK, spending more money on the same investment towards infrastructure as any other country, but the problem we have is because we have workers who are either slow, some could say lazy, as well as the government and its dealing with contracts, which is mostly what it's through. The contracts which are done are external, so it's not within the government, which is the other problem. It's not done within government. It's basically outsourced. If it's outsourced, it costs more money. So if you want to pay for something and they want it, you'll pay what they want or not at all. Now, with other countries spending less, it's because they have their own department, which the UK should have under its current system already, where you become a builder for the government and you go around helping colleagues as well as other companies apart from the government build their infrastructure, which would cost less than private contractors, which is what the UK currently mostly deals with, no matter what department, whether it's Department of Transport or anything like that. And with that being said, because it's private contractors, mostly from my research, anything that's privately done costs more than what it would be if it was done through the public aspect, public working, and workers that work for the government without. If let's say you got like a company called the Building Society, which is run by the government, everyone knows it's government run. That's going to cost less than if you had contractors in to build the work for them, which could cost double or 3x more. Now, overall, the borrowing aspect obviously increases debts, which means if we increase the debt level, then everyone else has to pay more taxes, or it's kind of a full circle at that point. You spend more, because you can't do that, you either cut or raise taxes. Now, people don't want to cut the department spending because it causes political related issues of, no, this department should have this or this department has that. I'm obviously going neutral on this one. I have my own views on which department should have more based on my own views, but I'm just being general. And if the departments are earning less, we have to raise taxes if they don't want to earn less because they want to keep the money the same. But because the way inflation works, you pay more money off debt, which is the inflation. Some countries, I've heard, you're paying the debt. The cost of the debt is almost as much. The interest that you're paying on the debt is almost equivalent to what you're paying. So you're paying, let's say the debt is 22 billion. The government could be paying 20 billion in interest on top of it. The moment the government not bans but halts borrowing until things are properly worked out or reasonable, if you get rid of the borrowing aspect, you cut departments equally. So if you take off between 1 to 5%, depending on the aspects, so that if it's 1 to 5%, it can be big, but it can be small. But if you can cut away the equivalent, now 1 to 5% could be 5% could be 2% from one department compared to another. Now, with that being said, if the government is able to cut costs and not borrow, or keep the costs as it is, as long as the cost of each department is less than the spending, that's a massive positive. Now, I worked something out. Maybe so I don't leak something. National debt charts. Images. I'm just looking for a reasonable. So this is an example. So we look at this one for the UK. This is public debt. I'll just check. Yeah, between 1900s to now. So obviously, 1913 the debt went up to 200. Is this percentage-wise? I think so. Let's say it's percentage-wise. I'm gonna percentage. Yeah, so it's percentage. So it went from 50% to 160, 70%, roughly. Then it went up. Now, obviously, that's due to past historical conflicts. Then it went down. This is where all aspect of not borrowing, I'm guessing, or borrowing very little, versus paying off the debt, occurred. So this brought it all the way down to a reasonable 1974 to 1980. That then went a little bit and dropped down again. Now, ever since 1990-ish, the cost of borrowing has just basically increased here. Then it dropped ever so slightly, then increased, and then it's gone up. And this is where we are basically since the 2000s. We're just constantly borrowing, and this is where we are. This is where we were. But based on the information I know, we are virtually between here and here. So we are between this line and this line. So I'm just trying to find better, and obviously we just go up and up and up. Is that a better? I'm looking for a decent. Without introducing the US. Is this? That's the US one. The US, you can see, it just keeps going up. They need to drop it. I'm trying to find a. This is that's the US, isn't it? Right. I'll show 2025 because that's what we currently got. UK. Right. I'm trying to find one for understanding purposes. Decent one at least. This is the economics one. Is that going to work? Right, this is a better one. Okay, I thought that was going to leak something there, but no. So if we look at this one, this is the end of 2024, so this is 2 years ago. This is 1960, went down. Obviously, we're at the 2000 where it's gone up. We are literally at 100% of GDP in Europe. If we don't bring it down, we're gonna with all due respect to the United States of America, we are going to end up where America is. But America's a lot bigger, therefore if you take on debt, the problem is paying off. This is what I was looking for. Is this the US? I don't have memberships. Why do you? Okay, you can't use that one. Let me see if I can open the image in the window. It's not 100% clear, but it's what I can get. This is, let's say, this is the receipts from 2.73 trillion, which is what this figure is. The blue is basically what the government takes in from income taxes. However, because this one's the receipts, which is what the government, no, the spend. This is spending. This is what the government gets. So when you pay taxes, right, this is what the government basically overall earns. It's the earnings for the government. However, because we have to spend more, there's this gap. I actually have a without leaking things.
Do you belong here?
I do have a government reference, which is this.
Stay here and get paid to learn a trade.
Okay, this is a perfect one. I don't know what year this was, but this is basically what.
Still listening? You belong here.
This is basically what we got to
Army,
deal with.
recruiting now. Search army
So
jobs.
this is what I've been working on. These are all the services, right? This is the debt. It's obviously different now. And this is the calculations I did. So it's 130. The difference is 130. I think it's 130 trillion. That's this. I'm not sure what I put here. I think that's right. I'm just trying to work on this. Yeah, these two need to be renamed, but that one is obviously that one. That one's that one. This one's the spending, this one's the receipts. The receipt is basically the income the government gets. This is how much it spends. The problem is this is way higher than this by far. So what we need to do generally, and every country needs to do this, if you're in the same situation, the receipts, the income, either needs to increase or stay the same. However, if it stayed the same, this has all got to decrease. The problem is stuff like defence, without going too political, was agreed to go to 5%, had to go and increase. Therefore, other aspects, welfare, benefit systems, education, the red one, just the debt, literally just the debt, which is 8%. So we can basically cut back on everything that we don't need. The government's commitments is the only problem that causes this, because the government commits to spending on pensions and other things. Now, I don't have nothing wrong with elderly people and their pensions, that's just the problem. But if we keep increasing their money, which they may earn it, then it's going to cause general issues for other people. Now, if we looked at this, from 2000, the debt increased, and it's the same by, that's the US one, that's the UK one. So overall, we need to basically stop spending unnecessarily, and if we stop spending, then obviously we're able to make the money back. The only other problem is regarding to debt. A lot of the debt that I found out, not all of it's UK, or not UK, none of it is government based. A lot of the debt which the UK has, is debts which households in the UK hold. And they found out that that's bigger. Now, all I think to combat that problem, personally, I'm just making general solutions. To combat the problem of civilian debt is, yes, we need to grow the economy, but we can't grow the economy if we got the debt. The way to reduce people's financial debt is, if we look at it from an individual perspective, if someone's wanting something, they use a system called buy now, pay later. If something costs £200, they haven't got £200 in their account, they have to take on a loan or a debt or something. Or if they haven't got £200 but they have £50, and they can pay £20 each month for however long the debt for the individual product can be paid off, let's say 12 months, 24 months. That's fine. The only problem is people use it. People generally have a thing where they can afford things, but they want everything. And because they want everything, they have the issue of it's a want, it's a consumerist perspective as well. If you can afford 3 things but you want 10 things, you're going to go, well, I want 10 things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go buy now, pay later on all those things, split the cost between all of them, spend 3 years paying it off. But you don't know the life circumstances, and people sometimes have issues where they can't pay it off. But overall, if you're using the buy now, pay later scheme, you're paying off interest, you're including interest, mostly, unless the company doesn't add interest on top of it. Mostly it does, because that's just how they make the money. But overall, if you're looking at it from a general perspective, then it's like they're paying for something they can't afford. So if there's any financial issues, the moment you pay for multiple items and pay over a certain period of time, that is technically a debt, which then you are gaining something for less money, but still paying it over time. It's good for people who can't afford it, but the problem is within society we have an issue where we buy something simple, let's say it's a pillow, or non-necessities, and people think, well, that's important to me. A car's important, a house is important, therefore they're correct. A house, a car, and furniture. But overall, people use it for Christmas stuff and other things. Now, the way I see it is if you basically keep your house warm, you let lights on, food, and water running for hygiene, as well as drinking water. If you can survive on the bare bone basics, then people should do that. Everyone goes for a luxury lifestyle. That's what society is. It's a luxury lifestyle. People can't afford it, but they do pay buy now, pay later scheme as a luxury lifestyle. They can't afford it, so they pay monthly to be able to afford the luxuries. But to me, I see it as, if you want something, you save up for it. If you know you can't get it, or you've been told you can't get it after a period of time and you really want it, then yeah, go for it. But if it's something like a new kitchen set or outdoor garden set or anything like that, if it's not needed, or let's say you want a garden set for the summer, it's not winter, which it is, why would you buy it now, pay it off over this period of time when it's winter? You don't need to buy it. And so it could be cheaper in summer, but you don't know that. Again, its financial way of seeing it. It could be cheaper in the winter because not many people want to buy it. Therefore, it's less people want it, cheaper it is. So it goes based on that. When people buy it more, that's why people use this system of buy now pay later. But in general, if you wait till you can afford it in the summer, buy it then, you ain't got a debt to pay off. So most of the debt in the countries, like many countries, is civilian debt. That's because they can't afford bills, which is where the debt comes into it as well. They can't afford bills, let's say electrical, gas. You pay for it off a debt, but then you slowly pay it back. But the problem with that is you end up in a spiral. If you are only getting £80 and you need to put £100 for electric and gas, right? And obviously it's gone up. That doesn't mean it's going down. It's going to keep going up during that time. If you notice it go up, it's less likely to go down. You're going to pay more and more, so you're paying off more and more debt, which increases how much you're paying back, rather than paying off an amount and the cost of that gas and electric dropping to an affordable level, which it doesn't at the time. If it goes up, you're paying more and more, taking more debt on, which means realistically you're just in a debt spiral because you're not able to pay it back ever. So you either earn more money or you reduce how much gas and electric you're using, turn the lights off, heating up, anything. Once you start reducing the cost of how much you're spending, even if you're in debt, it's even more important if you drop your costs, because if you drop your costs, you're not paying as much in the long term, which means you're able to pay off the debts. You're able to pay off the debts, then you're back to square one, where you can afford the basics level, even if it goes up a bit, because you've really reduced your own circumstances requirement. Therefore, if you reduce how much you need, then in a simple aspect, you're not paying as much, which means that you're not going to end up back in the system of paying off more than what you can chew. Now back to this. The aspect over here, this is public sector spending. This is basically the money departments. But this is lower. This is £1,100 billion. This is £1,300 billion. It doesn't take a genius to work out that 1,300 to 1,100, you're spending more than what you're getting. This is where this comes into it. This was 2021, 2024, 2025. Spending is £1,276 billion. The receipts, which is taxes and other aspects, is £1,149 billion. Deficit, which is basically the space between what you're spending and what you're borrowing, what the borrowing amount to cover the spending, because you're spending more than what your receipts are coming in. So you've got that gap, which you need to fill in. 127 billion. Now, if you cut back 5 to 10% on all the departments, you start paying off the debt that you currently got as well. So you've got, if you can, try and increase the interest on the debt as much as possible. There's a thing where people say tax the billionaires. I'm not going to go down that route, so my personal preference is that. But if you are to tax the billionaires, as people say, you earn more money, you pay off the debts. I'm not going to go politically on that. All I'm saying is people mention that, which you can do that if that was to happen. If you earn more from billionaires, generally, you can pay off more stuff. Even though any government who does tax billionaires is going to go, no, tax billionaires, let's pay for the departments. More money to each department. To me, you pay more money to per department. Yes, you've allocated more money, but in the long term, you've still got the debt that you need to pay. You then ignore the debt. If you pay more to the departments, means we increase the deficit. So if you use the difference to basically all the taxes, all the financing from the additional income, if taxing the rich was there, you pay off the debts with 90% of it, right? And then once you paid off the 90% of it, each financial year, the deficit reduces. Obviously, because you're earning more money through the additional income, the receipt is bigger, and obviously, because the debt is a part of the spending, you drop the spending. If you try and drop the spending a bit as well as obviously paying off the debts, then the receipts will drop because the receipts are a part of the debt. That's what the debts are under. If the debt's under these as well as these, this is debt. If you pay that off, you're in the green. But the problem is this increases every time. People will go, oh, you've got more money, you spend more money. But the problem is this is increasing. If you keep the spending as low as possible while increasing the receipts
You can tune in anytime, anywhere.
up to a certain level, it's affordable, then you're paying off the debts. If the debts are being paid for, receipts generally drop because you don't have to pay off the debts as much. Therefore, the money that if you pay off your full debt, let's say you pay off, the government's paid off, it's all its debt. It's got a tiny bit of debt left, but you've got loads of space and you're here on spending, right? And the receipts are all way up here. There's no good in going, right, now we've got double the receipts compared to spending, let's just throw all that money back into the system. Because people then go, well, where's that money going to be allocated to? The aim is to keep the spending below the receipts. Unless it's investments and other things, then yeah. But if you keep it just below it, then you ain't got to borrow money afterwards. Borrowing money obviously creates other problems. Generally speaking, if you're going to spend on infrastructure, that's going to make better the economy, which means you earn more money. Overall, if you keep spending below the receipts at least by a small margin every time, let's just say we get rid of the debt. Let's say there's no debt for a second, right? And that's equal. Let's say you get rid of that. That's the yellow part, which is right, and this is slightly lower. At that point, you're in the safe zone, and you can then spend money on things that are needed and investments, and make your economy rich, as well as allow business to grow to earn more money. And then you can invest in that. There's in like some countries have got a youth spending thing where they put money away for every child that's born, which the United States has made recently. This then, once they reach 18 years of age, they can then take money out or do what they want to do with it, and then they'll spend it on whatever. But they suggest people keep it in even if they're 18. If we created a system, if there's no debt and we created that system, then we're investing in younger people's futures down the line. They are able to then afford things that they need to afford, the essentials. Maybe start businesses, earn more money for the government as well as themselves. And therefore, we haven't got a debt problem, which means that we can live, in simple terms, we can live happily ever after. We can even, at that point, if we've got no debt, allow borrow money, lend money to other countries, either to pay off their debts or whatever, as long as they pay it back after a shorter period of time than we are now. If they agree, let's say right now it's like 6 years or 5 years to pay off their debts with the UK. Let's say the US pays it off to the UK, just as a side situation. Rather than 5 years, we go, look, 2.5 years. If you have to do 2.5 years or 3 years, that's it. We are lowering our margins, time frame margin. So rather than you pay back over 5 years, you pay more back. But because you are able to borrow to other countries, you add interest into that, which means you're earning in the results of all the money being returned. You're interest on each payment, goes up, which means you earn a profit off every other country. The problem with that, though, at the moment, with the debts, is every country has debts. So the US owns, theoretically, the US owns the UK debt, and the UK owns the US debt because it's under bonds. And you can't just go, right, let's take off the difference and we're debt free, because it doesn't work like that. If I was in charge, personally, I would have tried to introduce that so that you get rid of all the debt that's not needed. Pay the difference back. Let's say the UK owes the US more money. It's like a $5 billion difference. We pay them back. Say, look, we're going to give you the difference because you owe us money anyway. So if we pay you the difference, then we write off the system, the debt issue for us, and then we can work on other countries to pay off their debts and the same situation. Because it's through bonds, which work legally on different terms, you've got to pay the money back to the UK, and the UK got to pay to you, to the US. It's just a spiral. So you could be paying A could be paying B 200 billion, then B could be paying 200 billion back. So you're basically just transferring money backwards and forwards just to pay off debts, which is a broken system because it means you're not going to be paying anything off. Who owns the money at that point? If you split it, you go split the money to pay off the debts. That's it. That's it. It'll work. Write the rest off. Grow the economy, because we'll just be in a debt spiral. This is where these all issues come into where we're just increasing debts and other stuff. So generally speaking, if we can reduce how much we're spending on departments, or keep the spending the same and freeze the spending regarding inflation and other increasing costs, and then receipts, we increase taxes accordingly. We suspend borrowing, so we're like, yeah, we're no longer borrowing because you're borrowing more, we're going to tax more, so just tax, only tax and borrow, because I'm going to go back into the system anyway. If you borrow, you're borrowing more money that you can't afford, and the money from taxes can be paid off to departments and gradually through debt. Suspending borrowing will then prevent the economy from collapsing, as well as financial burdens on families across the country, wherever you live, UK, US, Canada, wherever. And then once you have started to pay off debts, the interest will drop, people can afford things more, cost of products should theoretically decrease if we make it so that companies who produce production is reduced because it costs less to make something, because everything's cheaper because you pay off the debts, which means the cost is a bit not there anymore because you pay off the debts. You don't have to pay all the money off. Obviously, we increase debts, things cost more because we got to pay more back. That's how it works in a sense. So overall, suspend borrowing. That's right. I'm going to end the script in a minute. Suspend borrowing. This is the final result. Suspend borrowing, tax accordingly, but try to reduce taxes over time, in the sense of how much you're spending. If you're spending more than taxing, you go tax more. So if we start to say that the government should do this, then in a sense, if the government should be spent on this department, then we should, as a country, go on. Because theoretically, people go, I'm not paying more taxes, but this department needs more money. That's where borrowing comes into it. So the rule would be, well, we are not paying more to departments. You can have as many protests as you like. If you want to protest, then go ahead. And if you decide that you want to fix the problem, accept tax rises. If you don't want tax rises, then we're not spending more money. Either pay more, or the system, basically you pay you pay for it, or you don't get it. Simple as that. If you don't pay for it, you don't get it. No more borrowing. Because borrowing basically makes everything free in a sense, because you're not paying it back. So paying off the debts reduces the cost of departments because you're able to put more money towards the departments, making it investment. Keep the taxes as a freeze, which if you freeze the taxes, you lower spending. You increase the receipts over time because obviously you're not spending as much every year based on inflation. If you pay off the debts, that reduces the inflation, in a sense, of the matter. Because you've reduced that, it's more affordable to cost, therefore the receipts are you're able to collect more in receipts through taxes, which means you pay off more. And if you just basically, as long as the receipts are always higher than the spending, debt can be paid off, the apartments can be paid, and the economy can run better, jobs can run. You're basically fixing the bar. At the moment, we are pushing the bar the wrong way. Overall, you need to basically adjust the cost of how much you borrow, basically suspend borrowing if possible, if not reduce it over time, or freeze the borrowing to a certain limit, maybe halve it, quarter it, whatever. Tax, you've got to tax in order to pay for things, and then cut as much as possible out of the system that you don't need. Yeah, the UK is stretched, but we need to keep, I know it sounds bad of me to say this, we should, but in regards to financing, keep the country stretched, keep it in a bad situation for a period of time. So people say, "Oh, we need to pay more." We're going to stretch you as far as we can. We're going to cause the crisis by purpose. That's the only way of fixing this. So we can pay off the debts over time. Once we pay off the debts, it's going to cost us less in interest to pay it off. Therefore, we can put the money back in the departments and reduce the strain. And then once you start to reduce the strain, then things will work better. But the other aspect is you've got to keep money behind you rather than just spending it on the departments. And yeah, so this is kind of the summary from the last couple of years for the UK. Now, the US is different, and I might cover that at another point, just from a neutral perspective. This, where's it gone? This chart is where we are heading, basically, by the Bank of England, which is, this needs to drop off a cliff in order for us to save money. If we could keep increasing, we're not going to get nowhere. But yeah, so I'm going to end it here because this has been an hour stream. Thank you for watching, and I will see you hopefully tomorrow. I want to try and build on what the content is and other aspects. I finally got all 3 platforms working, so yeah, I hope that works out. Let's discuss this more over time. Again, trying to remain as neutral and non-political taken parties as possible. I have my own party preferences, but I'm not going to obviously bring that into effect because obviously that's not fair for me to bring it in. I could simply say vote for this, but then I'm trying to remain neutral on one aspect of it. So yeah, we're going to discuss this more over time, as well as other aspects on what we should keep, what we should build in infrastructure. I might do that tomorrow, what we should. Related to this, I think tomorrow, if I have the time, I'm going to talk about what the government should invest in and what the government should just scrap or pause, because just as a general thing for regarding tomorrow's stream, if it's the case for tomorrow, if I don't play games or nothing, I don't know, I will sort my schedule out anyway. If something's not needed, you don't pay for it. Right now we've got like 10 different projects, but only able to pay for a smaller number, which means we're borrowing more to pay off to increase it. Again, it's the borrowing. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow and why the governments around the world need to go, right, we want this will help grow, but we can't afford it, so we need to build one project at a time or 2, or build them in priority order. in order to make things work, so we're not killing the country's finances. So that's tomorrow's stream, hopefully. I'll be looking into the research and other aspects, but yeah. So I just want to thank everyone for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to subscribe. Twitch follow. Kick follow. If you enjoyed the content, then you can subscribe on Twitch. I'm still waiting for my PayPal to work because I've had an issue with that. So once that's fixed, hopefully I can reinsert the link and then in the panel below Twitch, and then people can support that way if they wish to. But yeah, so hopefully this will be a good stream tomorrow. I've got a few things to do tomorrow, so hopefully that works out. And I will see you all tomorrow, hopefully. I'm hoping to stream earlier, so yeah, that's if I don't fall asleep. I feel
There's more to
tired.
Spotify than meets the ear.
But yeah, I'm saying it here.
Because
Thanks for
video
watching,
is
and I'll
taking
see you all
center
soon.
stage on
Goodbye for
Spotify.
now.